Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's from who's from that? Who did that? Okay. Do Ryan Clark. Yeah. Okay. Little live stream for those tuning in for the monologue. That's it. Okay.
Sports talk, great opinions, and live updates on the evening's biggest games. Join the conversation at 888 Mad Dog 6. That's 888-623-36.
Out of the gate, JT coming to you from Vegas as we roll here on Mad Dog Sports Radio, Sirius XM 82, the monologue. Coming off the weekend, we're headed to the NFL Combine with a lot of content coming up here that you'll get a chance to hear from NFL Radio, Mad Dog Sports Radio, what I'm doing. You can watch on YouTube at JT the Brick YT. NFL kicks off at the Combine starting tomorrow. The coaches, the GMs, the scouts, the owners, and we kind of ramp through the offseason with the big move now coming up here to see how your football team can improve. What is going to be key to improve your football team in the offseason? Because the offseason in the NFL is a lot more important than opening baseball or spring training baseball. It's much more important than the NBA post All-Star break. Unfortunately, it's more important than NASCAR coming off the Daytona 500. And college football isn't in play. We got March Madness, where March Madness will pop its head up, and we'll be able to dive into that. But what we're talking tonight is about NFL free agent quarterbacks, because today it got a little bit interesting. I'm in Vegas with my local show I do 5 days a week. Now the buzz is Matthew Stafford is available via a trade with the Los Angeles Rams. And when you hear that or you see it on TV, the first thing you got to do is your warning signs got to go up. Your ears got to pop up and say, wait a second, why would the Rams, who are in the business of winning and have already won a Super Bowl with Matthew Stafford, why would they be open to moving him for the right price? That's the type of guy you don't want to move. That's the type of guy you've won with. He had a really good season. He put you in a massive game close to the Super Bowl. Why would you want to move off of him? And I think the Rams know more than most of the teams that are out there on his age, on his health, on his wife, on his attitude, how much he has left or not. So I think they want to re-sign Matthew Stafford or keep him in a restructured contract. But what they want to do is they want him to do it at a fairer price. You see, we're living in a world right now, ladies and gentlemen, where everybody thinks they deserve a reward every season for just living up to their contract. I am, quite frankly, sick and tired of it. Paul George is now a bum in this league. He can barely play. He wanted a big super contract, and he got a super max contract. You're seeing bad contract after bad contract in all of professional sports. The people who should make more money every contract when it comes up are the people that are exceeding their contract. But we're living now in a time where players and entitlement, it's a really big topic for me, player entitlement, where players believe they are entitled to more money when their contract comes up. So I got some radio contracts. You might have a job. You might need a raise. And then you find out over the new year that you're not getting a raise. And the bosses tell you, well, we're not giving out any raises, but we're going to have you back here. You can keep your job at the same price. And everybody's like, wait a second, I'm supposed to get a raise. No, you're not. You have to show what you did to benefit the company to get more money. And what's happening in sports now at the quarterback position is everybody believes they should go from 20 million to 40 million. Now Dak's at 60 million. And what's it going to be? We're going to pay people $80 million in 2 years to play 17 games. Are we going to get to the point where players are going to want $80 million to play 17 games? And in those 17 games, the quarterbacks play about 28 minutes. So for 28 minutes a week, we're going to pay guys $80 million a year. And so when Stafford popped up and he became available, I said, like Corso, not so fast, my friends. What is Sean McVay? What do they know about Stafford that they're putting him on the block? And that's what we're trying to figure out here. What we're trying to figure out here tonight is what is the value of Matthew Stafford at 37 years old? Would you give him $50 million? $50 million. Would you trade a first-round pick to go get him and then pay him $50 million? I think there's a lot of teams that need a quarterback, and they would do that. Remember, it only takes one team to write an offer like Jerry Jones does with Dak Prescott to make it work. So you got the New York Giants, who are a dumpster fire, coming off giving Daniel Jones the money, and they didn't give it to Saquon Barkley. Let me stop the show and tell you that again. They consciously gave the money to Daniel Jones, and they could have given Saquon Barkley just $1 million more a year. That's it. And they would have had their all-time running back there. They played better in Philly because Philly's better than the Giants. So he could go to Cleveland, Matthew Stafford. Cleveland seems like a fit, but every single quarterback that has ever gone there in the modern era has left in a dumpster fire, including Baker Mayfield, which they never should have got rid of. Baker Mayfield should still be in Cleveland, but Cleveland got to the point where, and Baker got to the point where it wasn't fixable, and now Baker is thriving in Tampa, thriving. That's a team that if you get a guy like Matthew Stafford, you're getting class, you're getting a winner, and maybe that's exactly what Cleveland needs. And then you look at where I am with the Las Vegas Raiders. The Las Vegas Raiders' last two quarterback decisions were Jimmy Garoppolo and Gardner Minshew. In one of the most expensive franchises now in the world because they moved to Vegas and they play in a brand new facility. Those are the quarterback decisions that were made, unfortunately, by the gentlemen who are no longer with the team. And now Tom Brady is in charge of the quarterback. Tom Brady will be making that decision along with Chip Kelly and Pete Carroll. Pete Carroll, the head coach. Those are some pretty sharp minds. So the Raiders have the money and the Raiders have the picks. But I don't think the Raiders should trade the 6th pick overall in the first round for Matthew Stafford. No way in hell. But if the Raiders or Cleveland gave up a 2nd-round pick and decided to trade for Stafford, that would be a tremendous upgrade from what they've had. And then the other side of this says that the Rams control Stafford's destiny. If they let Matthew Stafford go shop his name out there and see if there's any takers, and no one comes back and tells the Rams, well, hey, man, we want to give up this for you and we want to pay this, then the price of Matthew Stafford comes down with the Rams, and the Rams get an opportunity to negotiate from strength. What also makes this really entertaining and a pretty important topic is the topic that if Stafford leaves the Rams, that can open up the door for Aaron Rodgers. Now, here's another big topic I wanted to throw out here in the monologue. And you can start dialing now because you should have this. But I want to hear some different opinions all over the country from New York to LA and the flyovers. I actually like Aaron Rodgers more than Stafford. I think both of them, Matthew Stafford will go into the Hall of Fame. He will not be considered Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers will be in the elite room in Canton, Ohio with the greatest quarterbacks to ever play. I think Stafford will be a first ballot Hall of Famer and really good. But I think that Aaron Rodgers is better. And if you think the difference between 40, 41, and 37 is that different, I don't see it. Aaron Rodgers is in tremendous shape. Say what you will about him. If you watch the documentary Enigma, you see that his body is in unbelievable shape. He treats it well. He works out. He puts the proper food and nutrition into his body. I mean, this isn't a guy who's falling apart. And he came through his injury, and he played a season, so he's 100% healthy coming off the Achilles. Rodgers' salary, he's another guy. Rodgers has got to play for less money. So what happens if Aaron Rodgers tells Cleveland or the Raiders or the Giants, hey, man, look, I'm ready to play for $25 million. I've been a mercenary my whole life playing for $50 million. I want more money than the next guy. I don't deserve it. I took the Jets and I did nothing with the Jets. It wasn't all my fault, but I'll go play for your team and I'll take a hometown discount because I really want to play for your city and your fans. And then we go down the list. I mean, what's going to happen to some of these other quarterbacks? Justin Fields. Pittsburgh has got to choose between Russell Wilson and Justin Fields. Well, the satellite works in Pittsburgh tonight. I would think most people would rather have Aaron Rodgers than Russell Wilson and Justin Fields. That's just my opinion. And then you go down the list of the two quarterbacks that are supposed to come out 1 and 2. We find out earlier today that Shador's not going to throw at the combine. I would expect Cam Ward's not going to throw at the combine. And those quarterbacks should be gone by the 6th pick in the draft. I mean, Cam Ward could go number 1. Maybe Abdul Carter goes number 1 if Tennessee gets a quarterback in free agency, if Tennessee makes a move. Then they don't have to spend it on Cam Ward, but maybe they want Cam Ward. And I don't see Shador getting past number 6 with the Raiders. And if the Raiders are going to take Shador and Shador wants to be in Vegas, then you don't need Matthew Stafford because we don't need a bridge quarterback. Aiden O'Connell could be the bridge quarterback to Shador Sanders. So it's getting a little complicated here because Matthew Stafford is available. And I think he's harder to judge right now than you think. That's why I want your opinion on what you think his value is. What would you give up in the draft to go get him in a trade? And what would you pay him? Because once you trade for him, you got to give him new money. You got to give him a new contract. I don't think Matthew Stafford's a $50 million guy anymore, but he could demand 50. I would rather pay a 27-year-old Sam Darnold that type of money than Matthew Stafford. I know Stafford's been better than Sam Darnold, but he wasn't last year. He wasn't better. If anything, Darnold was better, and he's a lot younger. So that's what this comes down to, the availability of these quarterbacks. I'd like your opinion on Matthew Stafford in the first hour of the show. Up or down vote, yay or nay? Would you give up a lot to get him? Would you move a mountain to go get him to bring a leader and a winner to your program if you need a quarterback? 888 Mad Dog 6. Here's Tom Pelissero from NFL Radio on this situation that's picking up a lot of steam.
Stafford's agent permission to speak with other teams. It was really accomplishing multiple things. One being it allows Sexton and Stafford to see what the market is out there with another team. What could you actually get paid by somebody else, which, of course, a new deal would have to be part of any trade that you would execute. In place to move Cooper Kupp, and then ultimately it was the Rams who decided, you know what, we're not actually going to do this right now. Could it go the same way with Stafford? Could Stafford simply make clear, I want to go someplace else? I would just say that all options are on the table.
All right, so all options are on the table, but I think the Rams, for a while, have been playing chess as everybody's playing checkers. I think the Rams got a really smart room when it comes to their head coach, their scouting department, the draft, the GM. They really work well together. And Bill Walsh would always want to get rid of a player a year early than a year late. Belichick kind of came through that Bill Walsh portal on that philosophy. Get rid of a player a year earlier than a year late. So that's what the Rams are doing. They're just following the history of the sport. And in the history of the sport, if you get rid of a quarterback 1 year earlier, you can live with that, especially if you have the quarterback a number of years and you've been a perennial playoff team and you've been to the Super Bowl and you won the Super Bowl like Stafford and Aaron Rodgers were able to do. You get rid of them a year early, you can live with it. But the Packers hold on to their quarterbacks a long time. Brett Favre and Aaron Rodgers. That was a long time for those two quarterbacks to be together. And Jordan Love, they found the bridge quarterback that Aaron Rodgers would get going. It worked out well for them. So for the Rams, I was impressed with the way the Rams finished up last year. And I would bring the whole team back. But Cooper Kupp's getting injured a lot because he's a small receiver who takes a beating. He's taken a beating. but I think he's probably has some good years left. I just don't know if he's breaking down. I don't know if he can handle getting hit as much. And with Stafford, I think Stafford, if he has a clean pocket, could do really good. But remember, last thing on Stafford here that I wanted to get in here, we got a couple more sound bites. But very important, if you remember when Matthew Stafford played in Detroit, Detroit sucked. They were not good. And even with Stafford in his prime, they weren't a playoff team. No one even considered the Lions real because he didn't have a great offensive line. He didn't have a lot of great players. Calvin Johnson, one thing, but they didn't have a bunch of superstars. And look at their defense now. And then Stafford went to the Rams and Aaron Donald's there, and they got good players all over, and they're a Super Bowl contending team. Will Matthew Stafford leave a Super Bowl contending team and try to help a team that needs him get better? That would be the Raiders, the Giants, the Titans. You got to go Cleveland. That's what it is. These quarterbacks want more money. They got to go to the teams that are struggling more because the teams that are struggling more should be paying more money to fix their quarterback room. And I think that's an important topic now. One more from Pelissaro on the teams other than the Rams who could be interested in doing a deal.
The Steelers, you're in a playoff. You have a team that was in the playoffs last year that is trying to figure out what their future is, short and long term at the quarterback position. But does he want to go and play, in that tough division, in that city, in that weather? That's certainly part of the equation. The Giants, make sense in terms of the market and going to New York and the ways that he could set himself up for things after his playing career in football. But that's a tall task, man. The Giants have a lot of work to do at a lot of different positions. I fully understand why the Giants would explore it. But for Stafford, do you want to go in there and be in the division with the Eagles and even the Commanders and the Cowboys? On a team that you've got some really good young talent at the skill spots, but they got work to do on the offensive line. Look in that division. I mean, it's hard to make an objective argument that they're not clearly fourth out of four teams because the other three teams went to the playoffs last year. They got some excitement with Pete Carroll. They want some competency at that position.
All right, so I thought he summed it up nicely there. That was from NFL Radio, Tom Pelissaro. And that's the topic today. The topic's going to change. One night I could be on here. It could be Aaron Rodgers. Another night it could be Cam Ward. But we want to keep the NFL conversation going with you so you have something viable that we can talk about. And you all are familiar with the players that I'm talking about here. You're all familiar with Matthew Stafford if you're a football fan. So let's hear what you have to think on this. And again, I'm good with him. I work for the Raiders, man, and Jimmy Garoppolo and Gardner Minshew and Aiden O'Connell, all good guys. They're not Aaron Rodgers. All right. And Tom Brady's going to make the decision in Vegas, and Tom Brady will vet that decision. That's what Tom Brady's doing here. He's not a consultant. He's an owner. That's different. He's a minority owner of the team. And the Giants are a train wreck. Cleveland's a train wreck. Tennessee, I think Aaron Rodgers would be a great fit in Tennessee because then Tennessee could keep the number one pick. They could pay Aaron Rodgers less money. I think Aaron Rodgers has a home in Nashville, one of his homes. And then you could get Travis Hunter or Abdul Carter, and all of a sudden the Titans have a future Hall of Fame quarterback, and you got the number one pick in the draft. Or you can trade the number one pick down to number 3 or 4 and then get a bunch of picks to build around Aaron Rodgers or the quarterback you want. I think it's an interesting conversation to have. 888 Mad Dog 6. So let's start off with Adam in Dallas, where Stafford is from originally and played high school ball in that area. How do you think this plays out, Adam?
Super Bowl winning quarterback like Matt Stafford wants to be traded to the Steelers, the Raiders, the Giants, or any of the other teams that you mentioned. The guy wants to win. He's a winner. He ain't chasing money. So I don't understand why you think he would go play for any of those teams.
You don't understand that his agent is shopping him to all the teams we just mentioned in the monologue? I'm not making this up. Jimmy Sexton, the most powerful quarterback agent, or 1A, has been given permission from the Rams to go shop him. I named you the exact teams that he's getting shopped to, and you're acting like he and his agent aren't interested in this. They're obviously interested because they know the Rams don't want him anymore.
That's a whole different story, but I don't believe that the Rams don't want him anymore. And I'd bet you your favorite bottle of California Cabernet that he'll be the Rams quarterback come September.
All right, thanks for the call. That's a strong opinion. If you think that Rodgers is going to stay, he's going to stay in LA with the Rams. I have no problem with that. But, we're not making this news up today. The biggest story on SportsCenter was the future of Matthew Stafford. And listen, the Kansas City Chiefs aren't looking to trade for Matthew Stafford, or the Philadelphia Eagles or the Detroit Lions again. So the teams that would want to improve their teams happen to be teams that have 4 wins or less. Or Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh is a nice spot for anybody to land at. But as Tom Pelissero said, the problem with Pittsburgh is he's got to play in that weather. And that weather is rough. And Stafford played in a dome for Detroit. He plays in a covered facility with open air in LA. He's not a great winter quarterback. But the same can be said about Jared Goff, who was let go by the Rams. How beautiful was that move? Where they were smart enough to think about getting rid of Jared Goff, who was very good and took the team to a Super Bowl, to go get Matthew Stafford to win a Super Bowl. That's who we're dealing here with the Rams. They're very smart when it comes to personnel. Let's get out to Daniel in Georgia on the potential for Stafford maybe to go to the New York Giants, who are in desperate need of a quarterback. Go ahead. All right. Well, the goal isn't to Thanks for the call. The goal isn't to finish in last place if you get Matthew Stafford, or if you're in the NBA and you get the number 1 pick, or you make a trade in the NBA. The goal is to go from a bad team to a really good team. So for anybody to think that Matthew Stafford would go to the NFC East and die with the Giants, okay, then I wouldn't do the deal if I'm Jimmy Sexton and Matthew Stafford. But the Raiders won 8 in a row against Denver. The Raiders usually split with the Chargers every year. Up until this year, Raiders got Max Crosby and a bunch of good players. He can come to Vegas. Kansas City is clearly Kansas City, but they're going down compared to up. They'll tell you that in Kansas City. So I don't know. If he stays out in the NFC West, it's probably a good place for him to be. But the point of the monologue before we came back is that the Rams know that Stafford wants more money, and the Rams are telling him no. No. We're not going to do that with you. We're going to start a new regime at quarterback or look at other options. You go find out what you're worth. If you find something great out there, bring it back to us, and we'll try to put a deal together to make you and your wife happy. That's the monologue as we open it up. 888-623-3646 is the number. And this is what makes this offseason interesting. People don't think it's going to be a great draft. It's not a great quarterback draft. It's not an excellent wide receiver draft. You might have to get your business done now in the offseason and free agency. JT live from Vegas, streaming on YouTube during the day with all of my other content at JT the Brick YT. We got a big show. Olden Polynice will join us at the top of the hour to dive into the NBA and the resurgence of the Lakers and the Warriors. You're listening to Mad Dog Sports Radio. All right, everybody. I'm going to go another few minutes here because, I'm on a site where you have to pay to be on it here. So I kind of do the monologue here before I start off any guest, and I'll do this again tomorrow night, roughly at the same time. Yep. How's everyone doing here? Fields is limited. How do you not want to play for the Raiders? Thank you, MA. Space Beast. Glenn, thank you. Hit the like button if you can. Share this when we're done. Raider Ryan, Rock of the Nation. All right, guys, I'm back here. We're good. Who's on updates? Ben Raby. You watching some late night golf? Who's watching this TGL golf? Oh, it was on delay. I had it on earlier. It's a tough watch. Well, I mean, it's okay, but I mean, I thought it'd catch on a little bit more by now. It's indoor golf, indoor simulcast, indoor golf, video game golf. But you do have Justin Thomas playing. That works. You got to have the stars play, and they play on the nights off from the PGA Tour. We got the Houston Cougars and Texas Tech Red Raiders. Yes. Right. Yeah. Yeah. Auburn's really good, man. Auburn, I watched play this weekend. They are really good. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I'll tease the tush push there with Ryan Clark. Okay. Yeah. Appreciate the bricklayers out here. Appreciate that. All right. Ooh, I just got a text from Stephen A. Stephen A. who's listening live again. Look at that. How many other guys are texting with Stephen A. right now? I bet you only a few. I'm one. Okay. Who's been waiting the longest there? Okay. Martin?
Welcome back to Mad Dog Sports Radio tonight. Call 888 Mad Dog 6. That's 888-623-3646. And sound off with your take. Now back to your host.
You need a quarterback to win in this league. Every once in a while, you can have an average quarterback and win in this league. You can. But you got to have a quarterback. And Matthew Stafford, I don't know what his passion for the game is anymore. I would assume when you make $50 million a year, you don't want to retire. And I think that's important. The problem with the NBA, everybody, is in the NBA, guys don't want to go from 32 minutes a night to 14. I wouldn't mind. I mean, if I was 39 years old, you said, look, you're not going to play 35 minutes tonight. You're going to play 10. That'd be pretty cool. You get to fly on private jets, stay at the Four Seasons, be a rock star in the NBA. But most egos can't do that. In the NFL, you can. It's called being a backup quarterback. If you're fortunate enough to play for $25 million a year, $40 million a year, then you get to your mid-30s. If you don't mind holding a clipboard, but you got to show up to all the meetings, you got to show up to the practices, off-season conditioning, but you're still going to make a lot of money. So Matthew Stafford shouldn't want to retire because he's young enough to continue to play. But most quarterbacks in NFL history have retired by this age. In any era, in the 60s, 70s, 2000s, 2010s, quarterbacks get to 37 years old and they retire. Then a guy named Tom Brady comes along and he's drinking avocado milkshakes, and the guy looks younger, like Benjamin Button, compared to guys like Kenny Stabler. I saw a picture today when my buddy the Snake was 36. He had a gray beard, and his hair was thinning. You know, the guy spent the night looking at his playbook by the light of the jukebox. Never loved the party more, Kenny Stabler. Then you look at Tom Brady at 43, and the guy looks like he's getting younger. Doesn't mean every quarterback's going to be able to play into their 40s. Stafford is getting closer to 40 than he is to 35. But he probably has a couple of years left. What does he want his quality of life to be as a quarterback in this league? It's tough to figure out. Adam is in Nashville on Matthew Stafford and his future. Go ahead, Adam. Mm-hmm. Oh, stop. Cam Ward. Everybody has Cam Ward as a top first-round pick. Maybe not the first pick. Everybody thinks Cam Ward has talent to be excellent in this league. You could have Cam Ward or Shador, who will both sell tickets and be franchise quarterbacks on a rookie contract. In Nashville for the next 5 to 7 years. I don't think you can pass on one of those two young gun quarterbacks. One of them might be great. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah, I don't agree with you. Thanks for the call. I don't think you would have been a playoff team. You're the worst team in football. You have the number one pick. But I really appreciate your call because you nailed it. With Matthew Stafford, you're instantly better. Think of all the 3 and outs the Giants had with Vinny Chicken Cutlet Parmesan or Tommy Chicken Cutlets, whatever the hell his name was, or Daniel Jones. You get Matthew Stafford out there and it's 3rd and 6, you get a first down and your defense rests, and that's how you can turn your team around. Again, the Raiders have a really good offense. The Raiders have a core defense along with Brock Bowers and Jacoby Myers. And Stafford could come in here and the Raiders could get Stafford and a top 6 pick at wide receiver. I think the Raiders would be much better off. But I'm worried about the money. It's not my money. I just think if you're going to spend this type of money on a 37-year-old, and the same goes for Aaron Rodgers and Russell Wilson, you got to understand there's some downside. Coming up next, the NBA's back from their awful All-Star game. Is anybody paying attention? Does anybody know the teams that are surging and who's at the top of the table? I'll get to that after Ben Raby has your Mad Dog Sports Bite. All right, I guess Ben Raby is not there, so we'll wait for him to get that figured out, and we'll get to him in a second as I continue on taking your calls, and we'll get to Ben Raby momentarily. We'll jump on that. On the other side, we have Olden Polynice at the top of the hour. Let me get to Big Al in San Francisco. Love when he calls in. Big Al, what do you see with the NBA?
And that was with Jeremy Grant shooting 1 for 12, Simon's going 3 for 13. They go to Denver, and we applaud them. They played a very good game in Denver, but resurgence, I think that's a little bit premature. Let's see what the Lakers do in the next couple of games when Dallas goes down there tomorrow, for the first, post-Luka game. Let's see what happens before let's give the Lakers 3 or 4 games because they're not very big, and defensively, we're not sure how good they are. Now, the real resurgence, and you're going to call me a homer, and I can deal with that, Golden State with Jimmy Butler, the way they've played over the last games, 5-1, should have been 6-0. Curry is playing so much better. Butler just changes the entire game from a passing point and a spacing point. Not to mention Golden State, they go to the foul line now. They were shooting 73% from the foul line, and they were the second to last in the league in attempts going into before the Jimmy Butler experience started. And now they're shooting 85%, and they're kicking teams. I was up there at SAC on Friday night, and of course the game here on yesterday against Dallas on ABC. Those games were over within the first 5 minutes of the game. I mean, this is a different team. So if you want to talk about resurgence, talk about Golden State. Let's not be talking about the Lakers. That's premature.
All right, Big Al. I was talking, you're right about that, the last game. Thanks for the call. The Lakers with Luka had a big game and LeBron. So they're trying to find something that they can build on. The Lakers are the 4th seed in the West. They won 2 in a row and 8 out of their last 10. The Warriors have won 3 in a row. They've won 6 out of their last 10. Oklahoma City is the 1 seed. The West is over. The West is absolutely over. The West is closed. Oklahoma City has a 9-game lead over the Nuggets. And the Nuggets are resurging. The Nuggets have been on a little bit of a roll here as you take a look at what they've been able to do. They've won 9 out of their last 10. And Cleveland and Boston are the 2 elite teams in the East. The Knicks are 10 behind the Cavaliers. And the Cavaliers look a lot better than the Celtics and the Knicks. But we know that the Celtics can step on the gas when they had to. I think the teams, when you look at teams that are surging the most, the Detroit Pistons have won 7 in a row, and they're the 6th seed. If the playoffs started tonight, the Pistons are the 6th seed. That's incredible. And the 76ers are 27 games out and lost 8 in a row. What a disaster that franchise is. What a mess Daryl Morey and that franchise are. They are a disgrace. And now more medical attention to Joel Embiid, who just clearly can't play anymore. And the race to the bottom in the West now with Greg Popovich with the medical issue and Victor Wembanyama with the blood clot. They've lost 2 in a row, 7 out of their last 10. And the Spurs are 12 games up on the Pelicans. But I expect the Spurs now to go into the tank. And I think that Portland and even, well, not Utah. Utah's pretty much out of it. Who's going to get Cooper flagged? The Pelicans, the Washington Wizards. The Wizards are the worst team in basketball, 10-47. And the New Orleans Pelicans are 14-43. 888-623-3646 is the number. 888 Mad Dog 6. Here's Al in Dallas on the future of Stafford. What's happening? Yeah, what's happening? Go ahead. You're on the air. Do we lose you? Well.
In my opinion, they just have to go through, it's a business. First things first. And the teams that should jump on him would be Pittsburgh, the Raiders, and if Stefanski wants to stay coach of Cleveland, Cleveland needs to go get him immediately and give up whatever they need to do because Cleveland is a perfect place for him if they want to keep Myles Garrett too. As far as you thinking Aaron Rodgers is better than Stafford, body of work, absolutely, I agree with you. But right now, no. Right now, it's maybe they're even, but I don't want the stench that comes along with Aaron Rodgers. I just don't. I want to stay away from that.
Yeah, I don't think he's a prima donna. I think he's a big celebrity, and celebrities are sometimes known as prima donnas. Look, if you go to Cleveland, if you consciously go to Cleveland to play for the Browns and Jimmy Haslam, the only reason anybody should go to the Cleveland Browns is money. So if you get $10 million more, say Stafford in Cleveland, because they got the Deshaun Watson contract, which is fully guaranteed, so they're a mess financially. But let's say you wanted to go to a really, really bad team. Well, you get $5 million more a year. That's $5 million. $5 million goes a long way, even for rich people. $5 million is a lot of money. $5 million more could help pay your taxes on your 40 or 45 million. So no one's going to Cleveland. Myles Garrett wants out of Cleveland. Myles Garrett wants out, and they better work a trade for him because he won't show up. He won't be a part of any of this, and they're going to move him, I believe. But I don't think Matthew Stafford will go. I think there's more upside for Stafford to go to the Titans, the Giants, and the Raiders than it would be to go to Cleveland. But that's just my opinion. I want to get your opinion on this because everybody knows who Matthew Stafford is. Can't believe we haven't heard anybody in Detroit on this topic. Detroit fans who are listening, Lion fans, you know Matthew Stafford better than the Ram fans. How much time does Stafford have yet to play? Because last year he's pretty good, and he really got going in the playoffs. And the Rams had a chance to go to the Super Bowl with Puka and Cooper Kupp and that defense with Verse. They're well coached. And maybe Stafford and his wife were like, look, if you don't love us and you don't want us here anymore, we'll go somewhere else. And wherever he's going to go, wherever Stafford goes, if he doesn't stay in L.A., they're going to treat him like a king when he gets there. He's going to get new local contracts, local car dealership deals. He's going to get everything because the team's investing a lot in him. They're going to have to give up something in trade compensation, and they're going to tell Stafford that they love him coming in. Maybe his wife and him need that now. Maybe they're at a stage where they want to do this. Maybe they want to get out of California after the fires and everything there, and they're like, we're out of here. It's a perfect time for us to get out of here. I don't know. But his agent, Jimmy Sexton, is really powerful, and he'll make a big decision coming up. Olden Polynice, our NBA insider, coming up at the top of the hour. And if you want to get through, 888-623-3646 is the number. As you're ranking these quarterbacks in the offseason who are available via a trade or just their free agents, do you put Matthew Stafford at the top of the list? The top. I don't. I'll tell you who I have at the top of my list when we come back. This is Mad Dog Sports Radio. Okay. I just want to hear what's going on. Is he not connected? Is he not connected? All right. So we have one or two breaks left. One. Yeah. Okay. Hey, everybody. Thanks a lot. There's a little bit of technical stuff I'm dealing with right here. So I'll do the same thing here tomorrow night at the same time, plus the noon to 2 show, 3 to 5 Eastern. Thanks for streaming us on the Must Listen monologue. Greatly appreciate it.